TYT Sports, everybody. Jason Rubin here with you. So, the Chris Paul trade from 2011, we're gonna bring this back up because there's a few article that was released by Tony Manfred of Business Insider and a few things going around Bleacher Report that are now reanalyzing the trade and how they put it was terrible for the New Orleans Hornets, and overall the trade just didn't make sense for the Clippers one to go through, opposed to the Lakers. The original deal, when before NBA Commissioner David Stern canceled or vetoed the trade for basketball reasons, one of the greatest excuses I've ever seen, the Hornets would have gotten Goran Dragic, Kevin Martin, Luis Scola, and New York's 2012 first-round pick, which became Royce White. The Lakers get Chris Paul, and the Rockets get Pau and Lamar Odom. Seems like a pretty damn fair trade when you look at it on paper, but Stern ultimately accepted this deal from the Clippers, which is what is in place today. The Hornets get Eric Gordon, Chris Kaman, Al-Farouq Aminu, and Minnesota's 2012 first-round pick, which became Austin Rivers. Clippers got Chris Paul, 2 second-round picks. And then as they put it 3 years later, this has been a terrible trade for the Hornets. That's completely false, and I'll explain why in a minute. But when you look back at this deal, it doesn't really make sense why David Stern really vetoed this trade outside of the reasons that the Lakers would have gotten $21 million in luxury cap, tax breaks, and $20 million off their salary. And the other important piece of information was David Stern was the acting governor of the New Orleans Pelican Hornets, whatever they were, in 2011 before the name changed. So when you look at this, Goran Dragic, filthy player, awesome on the Suns. Burst out on the scene last year when the Suns won 42, 43 games when no one thought they were going to break 30. Kevin Martin, pretty damn good scorer. And eventually, the first-round picks. The one thing I always have to say about this is when you look at a trade that involves picks and you're bringing them up later and reanalyzing these trades, first-round picks are extremely valuable in the NBA. And sometimes they turn out to be players like Royce White or Austin Rivers who have either yet to, I'm not even sure if Royce White's even in the league anymore, and Austin Rivers still could blossom into a good player. It's just a matter of time. But overall, a first-round pick is extremely valuable, which leads to the main point that I'm trying to make for this clip, which is 3 years later, and I'm quoting them, this has been a terrible trade for the Hornets. That is so completely false. If all of this doesn't happen, and the Lakers, that deal goes through, Dragic, Martin, Scola, all of that happens to go to the Hornets/Pelicans. Anthony Davis probably isn't on the New Orleans Pelicans right now. Anthony Davis, currently the third best player in the league based on his numbers and the freak show of blocks that he puts on every single night, might not have been there. And Anthony Davis most likely is going to lead his team to championships in the future, wherever he lands. Maybe if he leaves the Hornets or the Pelicans. It's the Charlotte Hornets, New Orleans Pelicans right now. Let's clear that. But back then, it was different. So no Anthony Davis. That's not good. The Pelicans need Anthony Davis. And when you look at it, it's really interesting because without Anthony Davis, that team is god-awful. With Anthony Davis, they're most likely going to be the 8th seed in a very, very tough Western Conference.
If anything, I think you probably want to revise that to say that trade was really bad for the Lakers because obviously it decimated the Laker franchise, and it was fantastic for the Clippers because it really turned the Clippers into a real franchise for the first time in history. But for the Hornets, you're totally right. Regardless of the reasons that he made that deal, ultimately they wouldn't have got Anthony Davis, so it ended up pretty good for them.
Said the Lakers have been decimated. Granted, the undefeated Swaggy P Lakers are back and have won 2 straight. I don't think Swaggy P is going to be leading them to the playoffs this year, though. But going back to the point of it really did hurt the Lakers franchise. The Lakers, the question then comes up, does Dwight Howard become a Laker? If that trade goes through as planned with Chris Paul going to Lakers, does Dwight Howard eventually join the Laker organization, and then you have a big 3 in Chris Paul, Dwight Howard, and Kobe Bryant? Or is Dwight Howard still going to cause the same problems, and eventually that team breaks up anyway?
So I think it's possible if they won right away that those 3 might have stayed together. But if they didn't win right away, Kobe truly does not like Dwight Howard. So I don't think he would have liked him anymore, even if they would have had a little bit of success. And I think that probably would have ultimately broken up the 3.
What makes you think that Kobe doesn't like Dwight Howard?
I don't think anybody likes Dwight Howard, which we will cover in a clip tomorrow.
That's wrong. Chris Paul in the 2008 Summer Olympics, I believe it was, Chris Paul and Dwight Howard were all buddy-buddy. They'd hang out all the time. I think Chris Paul might be the only person in the NBA who likes Dwight Howard.
Chris Paul is a diplomat. I don't think he never tells you who he likes and who he doesn't like.
It's true. It was part of the Bleacher Report article that like rehashed my memory that I'm going like, that's right, Chris Paul might be the only player in the league who likes Dwight Howard. But all right, guys, what do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What would have happened? Leave us some scenarios. We want to bring this up again later in the year about what would have happened. Would Dwight Howard be with the Lakers? Would Dwight Howard be with the Rockets? Would Pau Gasol end up on the Rockets instead of Dwight and James Harden now? Everything gets shifted around. Leave your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.